Another way to look at resonance is to look at what are called modes of vibration on a string. A mode is just a frequency at which a string, like the one shown here, wants to vibrate naturally in exactly the same way as a simple harmonic oscillator wants to vibrate naturally at some frequency. What we have here is a string that's anchored on one end. On the right-hand side, you can see it's tied onto a clamp that's clamped to the table. And on the other end, I've attached it to what used to be a perfectly good mid-range driver and now won't work very well ever again. We'll see in a minute. I'll zoom in on some of the details here to see how this thing is going to work. But the idea is that we're going to use the mid-range to inject energy into the string. We're going to move it at different frequencies and see what happens. See how the string behaves if we move it at a very specific and a well-chosen in advance frequency to see if we can force it into behaving as it normally would when it's ringing at one of its modes of vibration. So you can see here, this is a close-up of what I've done to that poor mid-range. I've glued a post, in fact it's just a wood screw, onto the dust cap of the mid-range, and I glued some small sticks on there to keep it upright because the string is pulling it sideways a little bit. What we're going to do is move that driver, the loudspeaker, up and down, and that's going to, of course, move the string up and down, as we'll see now. So here we can see what's happening. I'm driving the loudspeaker with an amplifier attached to an oscillator. The volume of the amplifier determines the amplitude, so how much the woofer is moving up and down, and the oscillator I then use to determine the frequency, which is how many times per second it moves up and down. And as you saw a minute ago, the other side of the spring is attached to a clamp. I can change the frequency. This is about 5 hertz going up to, this is something like 10 hertz, 9 hertz or so. So 9 times per second going up and down. Or I could go the other way. I can go back down to 5 hertz. That's 5 hertz right there. Or I can go all the way down, for example, to 1 hertz. So this is moving up and down and back up again 1 time per second. So this is the whole system again. I'm now driving it at something like 5 hertz, 5 times per second, and I'm going to increase the frequency bit by bit. This is maybe 6, 7 hertz, up to 8, 9 hertz. And suddenly you'll see when we hit 11 hertz, which I've already found out to be a magic number, what will happen is that the string will suddenly behave differently. This is 10 hertz, and this is 11 hertz right here. So you can see now, we'll freeze this. The string is in what's called its first mode of vibration. This is the frequency, 11 hertz, for this particular string in this particular setup. This is the frequency it wants to resonate at, the lowest one, this 11 hertz, so 11 times per second. What you can see is that even though we haven't changed the amplitude, the amount that the driver, the woofer, is moving up and down, the amount that the string is moving up and down in the middle has changed dramatically. And that's because it wants to ring at this frequency. Let's start the video again and see what happens if we increase the frequency again. So this is 11 hertz. Let's move it up. This is going up to something like 15 or 16 hertz, right? Let's see, right here. So we've changed now, we're moving faster, still at the same amplitude on the woofer. Now let's go to 22 hertz and see what happens. At 22 hertz, and remember our first mode of vibration was 11 hertz. At 22 hertz, you can see what we have here is the second mode of vibration. So this is the next frequency up that the string wants to vibrate at. 22 hertz is 2 times 11 hertz, so it's twice the frequency of the first mode of vibration. You can see again, I've frozen the video here so you can see what's going on. What's happening now is that the string naturally stops vibrating in the middle, but we still have 2 large excursions, 2 points where it's moving much more than the woofer is on either side of that point where it's stopped. But this happens naturally. I haven't done anything to the string to make this happen other than to put in the frequency where this mode wants to vibrate. So let's start the string moving again. I'll start the video moving again, and we can see what happens if we keep going up in frequency. So this is still 22 hertz, and then we changed to something like 25, 26 hertz. and we lose that resonance. Now let's go to 33 hertz, which will be the third mode of vibration. Here we are. Again, I've stopped the video so that you can see what's going on here. It's basically the same thing again. We have a frequency coming into the system, still at the same amplitude, but now the string naturally wants to resonate at this frequency, but in order to do that, a smaller section of the string has to be vibrating. So it naturally stops vibrating in those two sections you can see there in the middle. And we have these three areas where the string is vibrating up and down more than the amplitude that we're putting in from the woofer. Let's start the video again and go higher in frequency. This is 33 hertz. Let's go up to 37, 38 hertz and up to 44 hertz. Right there. So at 44 hertz, we have the same behavior again. Now we have 3 points on the string where it's not vibrating and 4 points where it's vibrating more than the amount of energy that we're putting in, or the excursion that we're putting in using the woofer. So this will keep happening as I go up in frequency. This is 44 hertz. If I multiply the original by 5, I get 55 hertz. And of course you can see it's the same behavior as I keep going up and up and up. We can zoom in on this and we'll see that that in fact the string really isn't moving. In a perfect world, it's not moving at all at one point. It's completely still. Of course, this isn't a perfect system, so there's a little bit of movement there. You can see the blurring on the points where it shouldn't be moving. And if we then change the frequency back down to, say, 33 hertz, this mode goes away and it automatically settles into its third mode of vibration. So the thing to remember is that the string wants to do this. So if we had hit it with an impulse, if we had plucked it like a guitar string, all of these modes would be singing together at the same time. And that's what gives a guitar string the characteristic sound that it has. It's the combination of all those frequencies playing together simultaneously at different amplitudes that makes the sound of a guitar or a violin or a harp or a piano, barring any small details about tuning. That's what the balance or the relationship between the amplitudes of those different harmonics playing together at the same time is what makes those instruments have their characteristic sound.
We have a structure resonating at its second critical mode shape. You'll notice that we have 3 nodal points and 2 antinodes. Remember, with resonance, if we're going to insert a brace, we need to brace it at one of the antinodes. If we brace it at the nodal point, it has little or no effect. If we brace it at either of the antinodes, we solve the problem. So it's not a matter of just making the structure stiffer, it's knowing where to put the brace. Again, if I was to go out into a real structure in the field, I could probably use my coin to actually feel the vibration across the structure, like this. And I could actually feel different amplitudes, intensities. Have the third critical mode shape. Notice there are 1, 2, 3, 4 different nodes and 1, 2, 3 antinodes. Remember, if we brace at a nodal point, it doesn't do any good. If we brace at any of the antinodes, the problem goes away. Of course, my speed varied just a little bit there.
резонанс двух камертонов. Точнее, резонансное поглощение энергии звуковой волны, излучаемой одним камертоном, другим камертоном. О том, что энергия волны поглощается, будет свидетельствовать вот эта жемчужинка. Если ножки камертона колеблются, она начнет прыгать. Наблюдается резонансное поглощение только при равенстве частот. Если нарушить равенство частот, а это делается очень просто, повесить перегрузок на одну из ножек камертона, то резонансного поглощения наблюдаться не будет. Бусинка осталась неподвижной. Эффект резонансного поглощения очень важен и используется в самых различных областях физики. В частности, резонансное поглощение гамма-квантов при эффекте Мюсбауэра позволило не только обнаружить, но и измерить красное смещение. Результат полностью соответствует предсказаниям общей теории относительности.